fabricated charges on me, things that I never did, and they made sure that I was removed from that office. And now things in the ministry have gone back to how they used to be before I got in there. So the leadership that I brought in the ministry was to bring real change in the land sector in this country. How it works is that you get everything that has been done physically, manually, using all the files, because you write a title deed with your hand, and therefore, and you keep it in the file, and whenever somebody comes, can just remove it and put another one. So when that happens, then land that is yours will be owned by somebody else, and it will show in the file that it is not yours, but is somebody else. It is out of that that we said, no, let us digitize everything so that we can have all this information, not just in one place, that in the event somebody comes and removes it from the computers that we have, they will not remove it from two other areas, servers that we had already created, information that is properly secured to ensure that we stop the land issues that have existed in stealing other people's land for many years. People were very happy indeed, of course, people who want to see things done properly, but there are also people who now obviously have gotten their way, that they would rather not see this digitization work going on, and that, of course, they make a lot of money by stealing other people's land, by ensuring that they overvalue land, and therefore, now there is a setback. There is certainly a setback. Because everything depends on the leadership. And the leadership has got to be committed with a very clear strategic plan on the things that you want to achieve, why you want to achieve them, who will help you put proper efficiency and the monitoring to see whether what you have put in place is working right. And using the talents that we already have and the skills that we have in any ministry to achieve this. It is, I must say, it is certainly very bad, to the extent that you are stopping people. I look at land and say, it's like when you stop drug barons from doing what they have done over the years. You will not stop on their way. You will not be in their way. They will certainly destroy you. And that is what I have noticed in that land ministry. I would say that I'll leave it with the judges. I find it, is for me, laughable in that I've been accused of asking an officer who had carried a file. And I said to that officer, please bring back this file because I'm going to a parliamentary committee tomorrow with the same file, and bring it back so that we can make copies, so that we have our copies which will remain in our registry, and the investigators also have their own copy, because I'm going to use this same file when I go to the Land Committee of Parliament the following day. And then they write and say, that is obstruction. So I've been charged with that one offense, that I asked an officer to bring back the file so that I can use it the following day. That is the charge that has been preferred on me. The matter is with the lawyers and with the courts, and therefore I leave them to make a decision. I think women in leaders in this country, first and foremost, I must say, from where we started, have done very well. We are not there yet. We should, for me, I look at a time when we will have 50-50 women in leadership, so that we are not talking about even a 2/3. I think I would like to see, women holding 50% position, both in the government, both in leadership positions, parliament and the county governments, and that is doable, because that certainly will make a huge difference in how things work in a country. Women think differently. Women think development. Women think people. Women think nation. Women think quality of the lives of people in their family setup. That is how a woman thinks. The problem that we have had in the African continent, honestly, is just poor leadership, leaders who do not understand how they can manage the resources that this continent have. And whenever they meet, first of all, they are thinking about themselves and they are thinking about their importance. Today you still see in the African continent, is the only continent where you find a president having somebody standing behind him, which used to happen a long time ago during the colonial days. I've just seen leadership in the developed countries, and you find a leader who looks like a servant of the people. I mean, this is so colonial that I don't want to be a president and there is somebody standing behind me. I want to be engaging with the people, not them looking at the person behind me. It defeats me. I don't understand why. Simply because to them it's a status, importance, simple to have all this. Recently when we had Barack Obama, president of the most powerful nation in the world, I didn't see people standing behind him. I saw him walk around and I'm sure security was very tight on him. But you don't see. I mean, African leaders must start understanding what African people want. And therefore, I think the minute we understand the issues that affect people and not celebrating poverty of our people, suffering of our people, people want basic things: food, clean water, health care, education, things that will make people move forward. Quality life for families. And it is doable with the resources that we have. This is not a poor continent, but it has been impoverished by poor leadership. I really think that corruption has got to be dealt with squarely and properly, not in the way that it has been dealt with. We have got to ensure we have institutions that will make sure that anybody who is caught will be properly investigated and they will certainly be able to bring back resources that have been gotten. But when I look at now what has happened in the country, the investigations that have been ongoing, as I say to you, I am out of office because they talked about one land, private land, where people are fighting over it. And what I did was to ask for the file, because I wanted to study the file, and I was also going with the same file. So then you ask yourself, is that fighting corruption? A file that I asked for, please, I need to use this file. So I think we need to be more serious with the fight against corruption, much more than what we are doing. Because then, if asking for a file, that you are going to use this file to give information is corruption, then there is no corruption in Kenya. Then I can say there's no corruption in Kenya. Let's move on. I think if the corruption is that somebody asks for a file, bring me this file because I'm using the file tomorrow, and you are told that you obstructed investigations, and I had written to the same institution that please investigate this, investigate this. I wrote to anti-corruption office, I wrote to CID office, I said to them, please investigate this, because ministry does not have the tools to investigate. They never gave me any report. Instead, they say, you obstructed, and yet I'm the one who wrote to them, and that is their work to do. So would you say that is corruption? I would only want to say, then there is no corruption in Kenya at all. And let the people not talk about corruption. Yes. Okay? Thank you so much. Okay? Thing about African leadership. How does an African leader declare himself live president of a country, as if there are no other people who can lead a country? And when somebody tries to oppose them, they are run out of town. This This is something that African leaders must stop, to think that they are the only ones who can lead a country. And that's why you see real countries that have come down. Look at a country, for instance, what we have seen, the changes we have seen in a country like Rwanda. Proper leadership, committed, wanting to make a difference in the lives of its people. And therefore, I do think that there's a lot that we need to learn, that the leaders in this African continent must set their time. Kenya, for instance, had to fight very hard. Today being our 5th anniversary after we promulgated our new constitution, we decided that leaders will be in office, president and deputy, for only a maximum of 5 years and up to 10 years, no more than that. Other African leaders must put constitutions in place that give them a term limit as to how long they can be in office and how they can also be removed from office when they do not perform. So what I believe certainly helps the African continent is leadership that does not take into account the great potential that we do have in the African continent, in the sense that we have very skilled people, we have highly talented people, we have a lot of resources. That includes human resource, therefore. However, we have not used them, mobilized them adequately, provided them and facilitated for them to excel, increase their efficiency, increase their morale, ensure that we can monitor what they are doing because we have set the agenda clearly and in a timely manner that this is what we as Africans want to achieve. Also look at the gaps that we may have so that whenever we go out there to look for support, we know that the gaps that we have are these, so that we know exactly what we go out to shop for. Leadership itself is a resource, and therefore the leadership should be able to do just that and ensure that they deliver, or we as leaders deliver on our promises. We should change our people many times. And when we do that, we now bring in place violence when people complain that you promised us when we elected you in office to deliver the following things. You said you are going to deliver on good health care, you are going to deliver on clean water, you are going to deliver on good education, you are going to ensure that you deal with the slums, housing, and all these. But at the end of your term, once asked you have not delivered, you become violent as a leader. We also now have noticed what personally I call what our leadership is suffering from. The African big man's syndrome, that it is the importance of the person and the office that consumes the person. They feel just too big, too important, and they don't see that importance as a resource that they should use to help uplift the poor, the suffering, the women, the children, to show that they can deliver on what they are doing. However, what I have noticed is these people continuously use the small and the poor people. Always when you see them, they are going to mobilize them, they are lying to them, they want the poor people to continue dancing for them, and this does not help us to grow. So I think time has come for us to evaluate, what the leadership can really do, where we have gone wrong, so that we can put order in the African continent, so that we can actually deliver to the people. The suffering in the African continent is just too much for the people. We are not very clear on what we have got to do, clear agenda, set, timed, targeted, and therefore until we do this, looking at the strengths that we have, looking at the opportunities that we have, looking at where we need to improve, we will continue doing the same thing all the time. We as leaders expecting different results, But as long as we do same things in the same way, there will be no different results. Therefore, poverty will continue to bite the African continent, and the violence that we're seeing everywhere will continue. From the dockets that I've held, one, since I became Minister of Health, the first thing that I did was to ensure that I prevent diseases. I did not go for curing diseases. Curative treatment was not what I concentrated on. I concentrated on preventing diseases, ensuring that people can get primary health care at the village level. And that helped a lot of people continue enjoying good health. And it's cheaper to prevent than to treat. And then after that, we also had very high, and that was between 2003 and 2007. We also introduced to treat people who are living with AIDS. That is when we started treating people with the drugs, AIDS drugs, and we improved a lot. We also went straight on to provide women and children under 5 with bed nets, which made a huge difference and reduced malaria by over 50% in this country. When I became the Minister of Water, in other words, I'm saying where it touches the common poor person, children, women, and people in the village. I became the Minister of Water. I provided water to as many villages as possible, drilling boreholes, delivering water close to the people, and that we did, and that was seen. And we also did a lot of dam construction, water harvesting, that we needed to get rainwater, that we do not see all the rains come and the water go down and people continue to suffer. Now that I've been appointed in the Ministry of Land, the one I focused on, I opened a national titling center. Since independence, we only have been able to give up to 5.6 million title deeds in this country. And basically this is title deeds for the richer people, for those who can afford. The poor, obviously, have not been in that kind of game and in that kind of arithmetic. But when I got in, I established a national titling center where I said I had planned that in the next 3 years, we were going to do 3 million title deeds for the poor people in the villages. And we started mapping, demarcating, and ensuring that we can give people, title deeds. Already before I left office, we had done 1.2 million title deeds within a very short time. So this is for me the plan that we need to focus, because if we focus on the poor, who for me is the potential that we should focus on so that they are not grappling with hard life every single day, we will be able to actually deal with poverty very fast and ensure that people can live better. Will not happen in 2017 is, I believe, because of the systems that we have put in place, there will be no political or post-election violence like what we have witnessed before. I do believe that whoever will win the election will just take and go on. Whoever will be defeated may appeal or may not appeal, and will certainly have to go home. Kenya has no more room for election violence at all because of the systems that are in place. I've been in politics. I was elected a member of parliament for 20 years in the same constituency. I was a minister until this year for 12 years. And I do believe that 2017, I'll still be in the game to ensure that we can be in government. That leadership given by the people is a resource, and they must stop using it for self-aggrandizement, for self-benefits, for them and the people around them. Let them shed off the pride of being in office and really concentrate on serving people, not to show really how important they are because of the houses they live in, because of the cars they drive, because of what we wear. Really, it has got to be a simple way of understanding the needs of our people and dealing with them. And looking at the more progressive countries that have performed very well because they have been consistent, they have lifted the lives of their people, they have come out of poverty to prosperity, and we have them. Malaysia, Singapore, we see. It is not rocket science. It is just doing what you have got to do.